Happy day 85, only 5 days left, and today we're going to be talking about being thoughtful with our decisions and our words, not making assumptions. This is so huge. Freddie and Parker are going to be talking to us about this, but I want to read you the verse, Romans 14:13. Therefore, sister, are you preaching? There we go. All right, let's read it together. Therefore, let us stop passing judgment on one another. Instead, make up your mind not to put any stumbling block or obstacle in the way of a brother or a sister. I love that. Make up your mind to not put any stumbling block in the way. Sometimes it does have to be an intentional decision to make up your mind that we're not going to put stuff in our way. So I love that part, to make up your mind that you're not going to have stumbling blocks. Sometimes you just have to make up your mind. You have to be intentional to say, actually, I'm not going to do this. So get aggressive with the things you need to in your spiritual life today. Parker and Freddie, I can't wait to learn more.
All right, guys, welcome back to day 85. Thanks for sticking with us. This is about being thoughtful. I'm going to read the scripture for today. Therefore, let us stop passing judgment on one another. Instead, make up your mind not to put any stumbling block or obstacle in the way of a brother or sister. Romans 14, verse 13. Sadie obviously said a lot of great things in this short devotional, but my favorite line was, assumptions are an unnecessary barrier to connecting with people. It made me think about a study I did, and you were a part of it early on in college, called Emotionally Healthy Spirituality and Relationships. And so just thinking about how emotional health really leads to your relational health. And so I remember learning this about how often we have these assumptions in our head about how other people perceive us, or how we perceive other people, and how those things are just, and a lot of times they're not even real. It's things that we make up in our mind. Mm-hmm. We create these scenarios that keep us from being friends with people, that keep us from going deeper with people that we really could, but we've just built up this thing in our head that's not even there. And so I think assumptions are such a barrier to relationships, and in family and other friendships. It's just so easy to assume that someone might feel a certain way when they really don't. And so I think just being thoughtful enough to see that and say, hey, they might think I'm coming off harsh or mean when you really don't feel that way. So I think being thoughtful and intentional in the way that you go about your relationships is absolutely critical. I mean, just like in marriage, if I'm not thoughtful to Freddie, if I don't think to ask her about her day and how she might be doing, if I know she's got stuff going on, I need to be thoughtful and intentional to pursue her in that, or we're not going to have much intimacy in our marriage.
Yeah. And I think coming from my professional side, being a counselor, it's interesting because a lot of the times when I'm working with a client and they're struggling in a relationship, whether that's a friendship or a romantic relationship or even with their parents, it always revolves around some sort of miscommunication or even, let's say, an assumption. And I always encourage them, like, when you're trying to explain something, don't be worried about over communicating. Like, it's way better to over communicate than to under communicate. And it sounds so simple and kind of silly, honestly. But if you're worried that they're going to perceive something you're saying as harmful, it's okay to say, I don't mean to say it this way. And if it comes out this way, that's not what I'm intending. But it's just giving them the space to not assume, and vice versa, right? It's that open communication. And whether you're in a friendship or a relationship, or again, like it's your parents, it's so important to not assume things, because once you assume, I think that's when you start secluding yourself from that person. And that's when you can take those jabs, and bitterness can build and grudges can be held. And that's when the enemy really wants to come into the relationships, is in those moments. So just getting in front of assumptions and talking through them way beforehand, I think, is something that's so purposeful that we should all do in all relationships. So I'm going to close us with the challenge today. Let's spend some time thinking about assumptions that may be burdening us and holding us back from real connection. We found it is always best to lay down any assumptions and invite people in. Even if they cannot come, that invitation speaks volumes. You are wanted, you belong, and you are a vital part of our lives.